About Syria. We all know the complications of it and the intricacies of it and so forth. And you're probably aware of some of the commentary out there that suggests that this may be the one area where President Obama's legacy is really tarnished, where he should have done more, and where in the months or years ahead, people may look back, and of course you might dismiss this by saying, well, let history deal with that. But this was the thing that really, that he didn't deal with that he perhaps should have. Is the president, he must be aware of that kind of commentary out there, and do you have a sense of what his thoughts are about that?
Well, the president's had an opportunity to speak to this a couple of times, and I would vigorously disagree with the suggestion that there is somehow a case that should be made, or can legitimately be made, that the president didn't do anything in Syria. The fact is, the president has built an international coalition with more than 65 members now, that has been focused on eradicating the threat from ISIL and other extremists, including al-Qaeda's presence in Syria in the form of al-Nusra, that does pose a threat to the United States and our allies in the West. And we've been very focused on that threat. And there are significant resources that have been mobilized, including militarily, to attack that threat. And we've been able to lead an international coalition and mobilize international resources to confront that threat. So
but not against the regime, and that clearly is the distinction.
Well, but I guess the point we've made here, Ron, and this is a lesson that surely we learned from 2003. Attacking the regime doesn't necessarily address that concern. It just doesn't. And you don't have to take my word for it. We've got a test case just over the border in Iraq about what the consequences are for the United States implementing a regime change policy and trying to impose a military solution on the situation. That didn't play out well for American interests. And that's what the president has been mindful of throughout this particular situation. I would also point out that the critics that you cite, and I'm not denying their existence, but I am suggesting that we haven't seen an alternative solution put forward. There are very few people who are willing to make the case with precision about what the president should be doing instead. And look, there are some people who do suggest that somehow the United States should invade Syria. They're welcome to make that case. The president doesn't agree with them. And I think they'd be hard-pressed to make the case that that would be in the best interest of the United States. But some of them do. But the truth is, I actually give them credit for having encouraged their convictions, as opposed to just standing on the sidelines and criticizing the president, saying the situation in Syria is terrible, and saying that it's all the president's fault. The truth is, the situation in Syria is terrible, but they haven't put forward their own proposal for what the president should have done instead.
Let me ask you a follow-up to Michelle's question about Donald